Hello there. I'm here again to keep talking with you guys and keep making thoughts. I just want to dive in today into the topic why we should read. And more specifically, why you should read literature. Because you see out there a lot of people saying, no, you should read this, you should read that. But normally, they do not say why you should do that. And it's important to know why for everything. Because when you don't know why you are doing that thing, that that turns out to be completely nonsense and useless to you. The motivation that you do things is normally more important than the thing itself, or at least in some point of view. Because if you do a right thing with a bad motivation, it would be a bad thing. And if you do a bad thing with a good motivation, it still be a bad thing intrinsically, but somehow you are managing to try and do the right things, at least that. So the purpose of the action, at least in my view, matters more than the action itself. So let's dive into why we should read and why you should read literature, right? Across the history, we see a lot of writers that write literature in a very specific ways, in a lot of ways actually. You see a lot of classicals that write in such a thing, in such a way that his works, oh, what is that? His works survive through time, and others who writes fantasy like Tolkien as instance, which he can imagine a whole world in his own mind and share with the public. But I want to go to this question. This videos, just a quick note, this videos is like random, and I'm talking about a lot of things, not following through a linearity, something like that. Not following too strictly to a plan or talking about some specific topics. I'm just throwing words here, and those videos that I record here are not scripted at all. But getting back to literature, I think that before we answer that question, we should ask why people normally read. What makes you take a book from a place and start to read it? There is there are a lot of reasons that you could say and point for me. Oh, I read books for my motivation. I read books for getting knowledge. I read books for information. I read books for fun. And in fact, though all of those is completely normal and common reasons that makes people read. There is the information itself, and I think that information is a pretty important topic because normally people take the book trying to learn something from it. You see, there is a lot of books which shall teach you a lot of things about math, a lot of which are areas that I like, but about business, marketing, and you know designer and a lot of things like that. There are out there those type of books, but I do not want to restrict all the reasons that could lead you to l- read a book from information. I do not want to do that. I want to reflect about how to read literature. When you are reading something about the real world, we can say like that, as a non-fictional book, you are normally trying to get knowledge, or at least getting inside the real world. When you read news from a newspaper, for example, you are trying actively getting knowledge and information of the world out there. And when you are reading about some technical thing and you take a book for a technical area, a specific technical area, you are in some way trying to understand more about the world that surrounds you. But what the fictional books do with you, the fictional books are completely the opposite of it, because you are not getting into the real world and your world. You are getting into a new world that was created by an author. And that is the thing, right? You take, for example, let me see, more the classicalist book that I comes from my mind, I would say from Homero. And diving into this topic, you are knowing like the Ulysses. I don't know how to say this in English, but I think it's Ulysses type of thing. Never, doesn't matter. So the you are getting into that world, and that's what the fictional books do with us. We get out our reality and get into another reality, a reality that was created by someone, and we are entering that reality to through our book. And that's create the fundamentals of why you should read it and why you should be think of it at all. If you wanna understand why you are reading fictional books and literature, you should ask yourself, why I'm trying to enter this another world, this another reality that someone's created. Why I'm doing that? Because if reading fictional books is equivalent to getting to literature, you are kinda getting to the world by itself. So know why you are doing that is the important part, right? And we could discuss, like, if I take, for example, some experience that I had in my life and write down about this, if I'm creating a new reality or I'm just talking about the word that we know. I could I could like discuss that, but let's assume that every time that you use poetic um, expression and you create something, which is what defines literature, you are getting to the this word and you are creating this word. So if the experience had going with me and I'm just noticing that, obviously I'm not trying to create nothing. But if there is an intention to create, or at least there is an manifested creation by my part. We are doing not a fictional book. Actually, we are not doing a book about our world and doing a fictional book instead. So let's say that each writer create his own reality in his books. Why you should get into those realities? Well, this is a very complicated topic and I'm talking here for so long, but in my opinion, one of the things that truly justify why literature are important is that why is why you can just get in someone's mind and see patterns in that mind. So you could try to recognize some things that happen a lot with in that history, in that story actually, and with that start think about what happens with you as a human. You see, the humans are not like unrecognizable creature. We normally follow a pattern, and a very specific pattern. So the experience that I have, probably you had some time, and you in some moment of your life you had an experience that resembles my experience somehow, and is, even though it's different because we are different persons with different backstories and different timelines, if this is the right word, at least in different moments of the time, it's obviously different, the experience that we had, but in somehow it is the same experience, even though it's different by accidental cause. It's the same by the structure itself. So I don't know, I could not remember an experience, but let's say the experience that your life is getting repeatedly insane and you are doing the same thing over and over and over again through a big period in, and do not see any chance of, any chance of get out this situation. It's not a situation that never happened with everyone that I'm creating in my mind. This happens a lot with everyone almost. It's a pretty common experience. So a good literature, a good writer can create a fictional world that resembles the experience that we had as human. And actually that is related because the fictional books are created by humans for humans. So we use this to communicate between ourselves, and even more to resembles and passes a message that we can't do properly through another way. I could, you know, like get in my room right here. In my room, I could take a technical drawing of it and send to you, so you can understand more or less how my room is organized and how my room is structured. But if I want to share some experience that I had in my room, for example, I take my computer, I turn on them, and I search a movie. I make popcorns so I could eat, and I just had a wonderful afternoon that I'm sitting right there watching a movie. I could like describe each of my action as most prescribably and descriptive as possible. But if I wanna really touch your mind and by other mean your heart and says to you, oh, I lived this experience, and you could say for me, oh, I lived this experience too. So the better way to do that is through art. The art is the way that we have to communicate our experiences through another humans. I'm one just to share a book that I already shared here before is Don Quixote. I think that is this way that it is known in English. It's a Spanish book, so Don Quixote de la Mancha. In Portuguese, Don Quixote de la Mancha. So yeah, I'm almost finished. I mean, not almost. It's still 300 pages of pure reading, and I'm reading this book, and I really loving it because I can think about the human experience, the human behavior, what is truth, what is the good, what is the right, what is the bad, and I do not do that like trying to build some real restricted connections, trying to understand about the book in a more proper way, looking through each word in a dictionary, trying to understand what the oh sorry try to understand what the author wants to resembles with that word. I'm not doing that. I'm just living in that universe. I'm just getting into that reality and just living with that. I can't say that in somehow I'm living with Don Quixote and Sancho Panza in the universe that Cervantes created. Somehow I'm getting able to get into this universe and this reality. So that's what makes reading and literature such a cool thing. You can understand the words, the human behaviors through a word that is not the word that you are used to. I'm not used with a knight walking there and rescuing some lady that was passing through, and it's even funnier because Don Quixote is not I mean, I do not want to give you all spoilers, but let's say that he's not um usual knight. He has pretty unusual things. So the reason that literature plays this really special role, it's because it can make us get out our reality and get into another reality, so we could be able to really live somehow that reality. And I realize that I'm talking reality, but don't think so much about this. We are getting to this universe, and this make the disconnection between our world and the world that we are getting into it, because we are stopping to think about what I'm doing next week, what I will dinner tonight, and we start to think, oh, this character right here is passing through a really difficult moment. And actually, I know what he's feeling. I know why he's acting like that, because I passes through an experience that resembles his experience, or I passes through a experience that makes me understand what he's feeling. I can understand what he's feeling, even though he doesn't exist like in our world. He doesn't exist by a he is not nature, you know. The character in a book is not a human being. It's not a living creature. He's just a story that came from the head of an author. But because of that, because came of the head of an author, this make the story really human. And that's what make us human. And that's what make us special. And it's important to know that we are here to be human and to be the best version of humans that we can be, living our human experiences, you know, that even though it's different from each one, resembles a pattern, and everybody lives somehow the same thing, even though it's right. We are here to be the best version of ourselves. And I just want to finish saying that I'm not share an topic type of view, saying, oh, the literature is the best way to create your imaginary and go deep into the word, and you should not be worried by the word outside. Go there and take some books. I'm not trying to be reductionist. I'm trying to think about how literature and fictional books plays a special role, or at least should play, or maybe could play a special role in our lives. And we can share experiences with another humans that passes through the same thing that we are passing now. And when we can look backwards and say, oh, don't worry, buddy, don't worry, whatever who be, I already passes through that. I can understand you, yeah, and I can help you. That's matter a lot. I see you soon. Bye. And that was the today video. I'm just want to share these ideas and formulate some thoughts. It's not very understandable though. Bye.